Good evening, Chetan. Okay, so let's start. Okay, fine. So let's start. So till then now, what we have discussed about this deficits, deficits, and I told you one is budget deficit, second is fiscal deficit, third is primary deficit, and fourth one is revenue deficit. But we emphasize on what? Effective revenue deficit. Okay, we focus on. Good evening, Jyoti. Good evening, Sejan. Good evening to all of you. So these four deficits we have to keep in our mind. What are they? But out of all of them, the most important one is fiscal deficit, right? Fiscal deficit. See, there is a term which is continuously being used in last 6 to 7 days since the presentation of budget. It is more and more time used. However, it is always in whenever we will talk about government budgeting and all, it is always being used. That is a fiscal consolidation. Fiscal consolidation. What is fiscal consolidation? See, I told you when we calculate the fiscal deficit, there is a budget deficit plus borrowings, right? Budget deficits and borrowings, and the purpose of borrowings to stimulate investments in economy. Stimulates investments in the economy, right? So at the same time, when the government is going to borrow, right? If government is going to borrow, I told you there is a possibility of what? Possibility of crowding out. Why crowding out? Because our economy have limited amount of money supply provided by the Reserve Bank of India, right? And if all of the money or majority of the money is going to be borrowed by whom? Government of India, right? Government of India, then definitely the interest rates are going to be high for private sector. One problem, right? Interest rate will be high for private sector, then there will be the chance of crowding out, right? So in order to avoid this problem, if RBI will increase the money supply in the economy, right, then there will be the volatility, or there is a chances of high inflation, right? So the point is, borrowing is good if it is in the limit, right? If it is in the limit. So okay, borrowings are going for investments, and these investments will increase later increase income and employment. But we also have to consider this thing. There is a chances of high inflation, or there is a chances of what? There is also chances of what? There is also chances of crowding out. So we have to take the borrowings in such a manner it will not adversely impact other sectors of the economy, right? So the term fiscal consolidation is more or less used in terms of balancing the borrowings. Balancing the borrowings in such a manner it will not adversely impact the other sectors of economy like private investments, right? High inflation is going to impact consumers. So you have to keep this thing in your mind कि you have to go for the borrowings. I told you and I explained you in the detail, borrowings are necessary, right? But at the same time, what you have to do, you have to do it properly, otherwise it will impact other parts of the economy, right? So this is why this term is being used, fiscal consolidation. What fiscal consolidation directly implicit, we have to try to put our fiscal deficit somewhere around 3%. Right now it is very high, somewhere around 6.8 and 6.9%. Government will try to make it 6.5, but the ultimate goal is to put it somewhere around 3%. That is ultimate goal, and it is always given in FRBM Act 2003, right? Always given in Fiscal Responsibility and Budgetary Management Act. And how government is serious, for fiscal consolidation with FRBM, you can see whenever the budget is presented, right? So budget is presented, I'll show you, so it will be easier for you to understand it. So when this thing is presented, na, key to the budget document, you can see that the list of the budget document presented to the parliament besides the finance minister's budget speech is being given below. Means what they are saying that ki there is a budget speech, and apart from this budget speech there will be certain documents are going to be presented in the parliament. So first is annual financial statement, which I already explained you. It is the statement about what government is going to spend and what government is going to receive. Demand for grants for what? Demand for grants for where where government is going to spend and how much they are going to spend. Okay. So this is about what? Demand for grants. Finance bill, source of sources of receipts, sources of receipts for demand for grants, from means these are the demand for grants, and in order to meet those demands for grants, from where you are going to take the money, right? Then fourth one is what? Fourth one is fiscal policy statement mandated under FRBM Act, and it is having two parts. One is macroeconomic framework statement, medium term fiscal policy come fiscal policy strategy statement. Macroeconomic framework, and second part is medium term fiscal policy come fiscal policy strategy statement. So see, if you'll see here, I have already underlined it. Fiscal responsibility, this document show serial number A, B and C mandated by article 112, 113, 110 of the constitution respectively. Means you have to present these three part as per the constitutional requirement, whereas fourth statement, which is the fiscal policy statement mandated under FRBM Act. So this shows maybe government is not able to achieve this target. Government is not able to achieve this target, but how government is serious, try to manage their fiscal deficit in such a manner so that it will create a positive environment for all sectors, right? So that is why macroeconomic framework statement. Macroeconomic means what? There is a term microeconomics, there is a term macroeconomics. In very simple way, when we are talking about one sweet shop or one shoe manufacturing unit or one car manufacturing unit or whatever, when we are talking about unit industry or unit of a sector, then it is micro. When we are talking about overall sweet shops in India, overall car manufacturing in India, right? We are talking about overall manufacturing steel and iron steel manufacturing in India, then we are talking in terms of macro, right? Micro and macro. And in the very beginning, when I have started those lectures, I told you it was Ragnar Frisch who classified this macro and micro economics. Right. So those students who are going to appear in SEBI exam, for them they keep this thing in mind, the term macro and microeconomics. Right. Macroeconomics and microeconomics, it was classified by whom? Ragnar. Ragnar Frisch. Right. It was Ragnar Frisch. Yes, Prachi, class is started. What happened? You are not able to see the class? So, government present macroeconomic framework statement and medium-term fiscal policy. Here, medium terms means for next 5 years. So, for next 5 years, what is the strategy of government to minimize their fiscal deficit? At the same time, government have to stimulate investments in the economy. Government have to go for various things. So, this is about medium-term policy, fiscal policy, right? For example, in monetary policy, also there is a 5 year framework agreement. Huh? There is a 5 year framework agreement between RBI and Government of India. Similarly, this medium term fiscal policy is also for 5 years. Okay, so in this sense, this is very important term, the fiscal consolidation. The term fiscal consolidation is being used. Is there any issue regarding the class? Means some people are complaining. Varad, okay. So before moving ahead, I just want to clarify two more terms and they are very important here. One is deficit financing and other is monetization of deficit. Deficit financing and monetization of deficit. Okay, fine. So if everything is fine, so let's move with our discussion. So first understand what is deficit financing. Under the fiscal deficit, we always mention what? Budget deficit plus borrowings, right? And this borrowing requirements is going to be facilitated by RBI. These borrowings is going to be facilitated by RBI. Okay, so RBI, why RBI? RBI is a bank to the government of India. So when RBI facilitate this borrowing for the government of India, this process is known as what? This process is known as deficit financing. This process is known as deficit financing when RBI provide the loans to the government of India. Right. Now, when RBI is providing the loan to the government of India or RBI is providing the requirements government do have in terms of borrowing, it is provided by the RBI. Now, RBI have two options. One option is RBI will go to market and will issue government securities against these borrowings, right? So RBI will go for what? RBI will go for Jesus market, and RBI will borrow from here, right? RBI will borrow from here. Sorry, I wrongly. RBI will borrow for government securities market, right? This is the one way. So whatever money in circulation, whatever the money in circulation is being there, that is going to be absorbed by the RBI, and that RBI, after absorbing that money which is in the economic system, RBI will absorb this money, and RBI will provide this money to whom? RBI will provide this money to Government of India, right? So whatever the amount of money is available in the economy, that money is going to be remain same. Earlier it was with bank or public. Now from bank and public it went to RBI, and from RBI it went to whom? It went to the Government of India. So whatever the availability of money supply in the economy was remain same, right? It was remain same. But suppose that in any case, because of any reason, if it is not working, this part is not working, then for any reason, whatever the reason, if any reason, what are the reasons, we will discuss it later. It is not required right now. It is very important to understand the monetization of deficit, right? So that's why, suppose that this way is not working, RBI is not getting the sufficient money from the market for government's requirement. In that case, either government have to decrease their proposed expenditure, right? One way. Another way, government, rather than borrowing, can go for other things. For example, can anybody tell me, if government is not able to borrow, then what are the other options? Other options. If government is not able to borrow, what is the other option? Apart from increasing the tax rate. And hint is, government is going to do this thing in a very blockbuster manner in coming month. Maybe this month or next month. An example? Government want to borrow, but because of some reasons, borrowings are not available. Then in that case, either you have to decrease your expenditure, but government is very firm to go for those expenditures. Then how government can found the money? Reducing the government stakes. Ha, LIC IPO. Very good. So LIC IPO, that means you can go for disinvestments. You can go for what? You can go for disinvestments. You can go for privatization. So whenever you sell your shares, you will get what? You will get some receipts. And that receipts is going to the part of capital receipts or revenue receipts. That very good. Jewel, Jyoti, Chetan. Print the money. Interesting. Print the money. Maybe print more money. International borrowings. I was saying borrowing option is not available. And printing of the money is also kind of borrowings. Right? I will explain, Ram. I will explain this thing. Once I will explain, this is going to be clear. I was saying that borrowing option is not available. Borrowing option is not available. Whether you are going to print the new money, right? Print the new money. And on every note it is mentioned, I promise to pay. So whenever there is a currency note is being printed, that is going to be the liability on whom? RBI. So RBI will not take liability in its own. It is going to put the liability on Government of India. So printing new currency is also kind of borrowings. Capital says very good. Shashwat Srivastav, print more money is monetization only now. Huh. So you have borrowing option, but borrowing option is not available, then government will go for what? Disinvestments. But every time going for the disinvestments mean what? In next 50 years or next 20 years, government is not going to hold any asset, right? So disinvestment we can go for. But until unless government has decided that we will sell off all our assets, even government will decide we will sell out of all of the assets. So at a point of time, disinvestment option is going to be unavailable because you already sold all of your assets. No assets is with you, right? So in that case, ultimately, what you have to do, you have to go for borrowings, right? And market option is not available. Market option is not available, right? So disinvestment is an option, but disinvestment is not always a good option because if you will are going to rely too much on the disinvestment, at a point of time you will lose all of your assets, right? So rather than going for overall disinvestment, we will do the disinvestments with the targets, and if this option is not available, then RBI himself provide this borrowing. Anyways, if RBI is going to provide its borrowing, RBI can provide this borrowing in the two ways. RBI himself can provide the borrowings in two ways. One way is what? Use the reserves which RBI have, right? Use the RBI. RBI is going to use its own reserve, right? Second option is print more Gandhiji, print more rupee. So in any case, if you are going to use this option, and sorry, if you are going to use this option, which option? This option, provide himself the borrowing, then either you are going to use the reserve, or you are going to print more money. In both cases, what will happen? In both cases, money supply will increase due to extra availability of currency notes. Extra availability of currency notes. So in this case, what will happen? Excess money will be provided. So what you are doing, when we will print more currency, we called it as a monetization, right? We will call it as a monetization when we print more currencies, right? So this process is known as monetization. And why you are monetizing? What is the reason? Is the reason is because of mutilated currencies or some banknotes were being taken off by the government of India or RBI? Is the reason? No, this is not the reason. You are doing the monetization because government need money to finance its deficit. Government need money to finance its deficit. So when I'll write in the new page, when new currency is printed to finance deficit of government of India, it is known as monetization of deficit. It is known as monetization of deficit. And yes, this monetization of deficit is going to be create a lot of problem, especially inflation. And inflation always hit very hard to whom? Poor or Ambani Babu? Not Ambani Babu, it is going to hit hard to poor who have less wise. Right? They are great in the number. So means if your numbers are large, it doesn't mean that always ki you are going to be the deciding factor. Right? So numbers are not always provide the strength. In India, in most of the part of the world, there are more number of poor people. And in fact, I think this study was being done last to last year. What they did, they just calculated the wealth of 100 most rich people. 100 most rich people. Right, 100 most rich people, they did their study and they found that the 100 most rich people of the world, they effectively control somewhere around, I'm not very sure, but they control somewhere around 80% of world's total wealth. So our population is about to reach 7 billion, and out of this 7 billion there are 100 people of the world, they control around 80% wealth of this world. Right, this is the irony. Another interesting fact, one study was done over the Saudi Arabia, the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, right? And as per their estimate, Saudi government is being governed by the Saudi royal family, right? And in that Saudi royal family, somewhere around 450 members are there. So those 450 members effectively control around 78% wealth of Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, whereas the rest of the population have control over only 22%. But despite 22%, Saudi government put a lot of money for public expenses, and they do provide many of the services free of cost, no taxes, free public transportation, such kind of the services available. So still means 78% is held by 450 people and 22% only held by the public. But the government is making a lot of efforts there so that there is no extreme poverty like situation. There is a huge gap between level of income, right? 450 people and somewhere around 15 crore population, I don't know exact figure, but somewhere around 15 to 20 crore population, 450 people have 78%, and the rest of the population is going to have very less amount of control of their income. So income inequality is a big issue, right? Income inequality is a big issue in India. And uh, from this income inequality, I got this thing. I'm very sorry because means Ashok ji told me that ki some students want to discuss this issue of inequality related question. So you can contact me on Telegram. I will explain because it's not possible to write that thing, right? Either I have to write the complete answer, or I can let you know about your requirement, means how to write. I will let you know, but for that means it is not possible for me to just to summarize. First, do you know the concept of no or not? The most important thing, do you know the income inequality, what is income inequality and how it is measured, what are the related concepts, right? If you don't know, then it is futile to write that answer, right? Because you are not able to produce the substantive point which is required to get good marks, right? So those who are worried about answer writing, right, no need to worry. Once you will know the, see, I have used this term fiscal consolidation, right? So if you know the term fiscal consolidation and there is a question on FRBM, or there is a question on growth versus stability, right? If there is a question on growth versus stability but you don't know this term, how you are going to use it? You are not able to use it. So it is very important to know all these terms, right? To know all these terms, it is very important, otherwise it is not going to work for you to answer right. Okay, let's see some questions. Increase tax on petrol. Already government is taking more than 50, somewhere around 50%. Divestment of forex reserve, yes, that can be done also. Divestment of forex reserve. Lending infrastructure, national monetization, yes, very good, very good. Ritika best, very good answer. Ram is saying that money supply increase causing the inflation. Yes, will cause the inflation. Over 1% of total wealth. Over 1% of total wealth, Indian billionaire can finance education, health, and many social services for 7 years. True, true. Rich people can finance, but it's a human nature, right? It's a human nature. Whenever, see, I have seen many times. I'll tell you the human nature, the basic thing. Suppose that there is a time of festival. There is a time of festival. Forget about this corona like situation. There is a festival time, and you are supposed to board in a train, right? You are supposed to board in a train, and you already have a reservation. And when you went to your seat, you found that two people are already sitting there, right? Two people are already sitting there, and in the capacity of 72 seats or 80 seats, whatever, in that coach, already there are around 160 people, right? And now you have protested. Now you have protested. So those people who are sitting on your seat, they are giving you an argument ki are means please try to understand, everybody have to go to the home, this is the festive time, thoda thoda cooperate kariye, thoda adjust kariye, it is a festive time, everybody have to go. And still if you are protesting, then all other people are going to shout on you, are yaar thoda sa cooperate karo na, please cooperate, right? Everybody is going to push you for the corporate, and you are thinking what the hell is this, I have booked my reservation 2 months in advance so that I can get the confirmed berth, but these people are pushing me, and you can't do anything. TT, all other people, they are, everybody is going to be helpless, right? And you are feeling like cheated, right? One scenario. Second scenario, because of some reason you missed that reservation, now you want to go your home, then you feel that thing is a justified. When you are in that situation, you feel that it is justified, it is just, yeah, you can sit now, you can sit and everybody can go. So it's depend on which situation you are, in which situation you are, right? So that is why the term philanthropist is being used. So when you are very rich and you have a lot of money in your pocket, and then at a point of time you feel that you know, whatever the wealth I have, I'm never going to be utilize it, right? I'm never going to be utilize it. So that what I can do, I can donate some amount of my money to the people so that they can also get their wealth. But there is a catch. There is a catch, because when you will do such kind of the activities, you will do the charity work, a lot of charity work, you will get rebate in income tax. So this is also one of the reason why people who are becoming rich, they will immediately start doing the charitable activities, right? Because through the charitable activities, starting in educational institutions, all these things, right? So it is going to give you the lot of leverages in the tax. At the same time, you are going to have a good face or a trusted face among the people. So this is also very true, right? Now, same thing I'm going to tell you what? Same thing I'm going to tell you the flip philosophy. The flip philosophy here is what? Government won't encourage rich people to contribute. Government want rich people to contribute in the social services and other things. That is why they have made this provision in the Income Tax Act. If you are going to do any charitable activity, we will give you the tax rebate. Right? So there is always an explanation. It depends how powerful you are while presenting your argument, while presenting your thought. It is going to be a deciding factor, right? Now, come back to our point. So, this thing I have explained you fiscal consolidation, and another time I have explained you the deficit financing, monetization of deficit. Now, we have to go to the budget document And the first budget document I am going to discuss here is budget at a glance, right? Budget at a glance. So whatever the glance is here, I'm already told you about all these key terms, right? I already told you about these key terms. This is your responsibility now. Just I will share this PDF. I will share this PDF. You should read. You should read this PDF. And if you have any doubt, let me know. I will conduct the doubt session and I will give you the answer of your question. Right? Now, whatever they have written here, I told you, I already explained you each and everything regarding the conceptual part. Now budget ka saar, that is budget at glance. So here they have mentioned some figures, right? Some figures they have mentioned. What is the capital receipts? What are the total receipts, total expenditure they have given. Once I'm winding up this entire discussion on budget, I'll tell you the way how you can memorize most of this data just keeping only 2 or 3 data in your mind. There is a way. There is a way. I will let you know, but you have to remain patient. You have to understand each and everything. Then I'll let you know. Just keep 1 or 2 data in your mind, right? That is total expenditure, total receipts, and borrowings. Maximum to tax receipts. These 4 data you have to keep in your mind, right? And if you are able to just have first 2 figures, right, rather than this complete figure, if you are able to have 1.6 like figure, that is also sufficient. Or 16, if you are able to have this thing in your mind, 16, right? So 16 lakh crores. So somewhere around 16 lakh crores, right? So if you are having this data in your mind, somewhere around 16 lakh crore is what revenue receipts, and you are able to even if you don't know what is the capital receipts, but you know what you know the revenue receipts, then you can find it out. What you have to do, you have to keep this data. If you know that total receipts somewhere around 35 lakh crores, right? I'm not looking data at it. 35 lakh crore is total expenditure or total receipts, right? One data I have in my mind. Another data I have in my mind is revenue receipts, that is somewhere around 16 lakh crores, right? So if somewhere around 16 lakh crores and total receipts is 35 lakh crores, so automatically you can find it out, na? 18 somewhere around 18 lakh crores, and they are not going to ask you the exact data. You provide me in what? Provide me in terms of exact figure. So there is a way I will tell you properly, and it is very easy to estimate what is the exact kind of data will be there in the exam. And whenever they will ask the data, they are not going to ask you, tell me what is the revenue receipts of the government of India. They are not going to give you options like this. Right? They are not going to give you in this way. It is not going to be the data, right? It is RBI Grade B officer exam, not constable exam. It is not in constable exam, right? They'll ask the questions in a proper way, right? Why I told you constable exam? If you remember, we do have Formula 1 circuit in India. Formula 1 circuit in India. Can anybody tell me where it is? Formula 1 circuit in India? Where do have we? No need to Google. Just tell me the answer. Where we do have the Formula 1 circuit? Gautam Budh, not Hyderabad. Yes, Greater Noida, Gautam Budh F1 Center. So when this was started around somewhere in 2012, right? 2012. So that was a big thing for country like India to have a Formula One track, because it's a rich people sports, right? It's not a common man people sport, or it is not a sports where means generally you can find in the middle income countries, most of the rich countries, they go for this Formula One racing kind of the thing. So for India, it was a big thing to have a Formula One circuit, right? So it was expected that everyone is going to ask this question. Everyone is going to ask this question. So from Constable, TMRC, RBI, Grade B, everywhere they do ask this question. Somebody have asked you who win the race, who was the Indian driver, this, that, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. Everyone have asked the facts, 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 and facts. Right. Now, people are also expecting ki UPSC civil services exam, definitely there will be the question in the prelims exam. Everyone, right? Everyone including me, we have tried to memorize the data. But somewhere around in my mind, I was having this doubt ki whether they are going to ask in prelims or not, because maybe they are not going to ask because they expect that key people are expecting question from this, and UPSC have this habit, do not ask the question from where the people are expecting. So still people pressure, peer pressure. So I also memorized most of the thing. They didn't ask any question, right? They didn't ask any question from Formula One. When at the time of mains, there was a question in Formula One race. There are different 8 types of flags are being shown. What are the color of those flags and why they are being shown? They have asked this question in the mains examination. Tell me the color of the flag, how many colors, why they are being shown, at what time they are being shown. So UPSC went to that stage, right? So there is a level. There is a level when you are preparing for the kind of exam which is having some repetition. So they will ask. They will not do cheapness, right? They will not do the cheapness, especially in the second part. They will not do the cheapness. For the first part, to eliminate non-serious people, maybe they can use, but in part 2 they are not going to go for such kind of the madness of the data. They do ask the data, okay, but they will not go for madness. Fine. So you have to do what? You have to play smartly. Just have 3-4 data. I will tell you the 4 data, maximum 4 data I will tell you, and by that data you can go for most of the important data. Even you can categorize the expenditure also, right? So this part I will discuss you in detail once the rest of the part of discussion will be over. So just remove it. So as I told you, I am going to discuss later. Now, रुपया कहाँ से आता है? Rupee comes from. So rupee comes from what they are trying to say that they are trying to say that receipts RR and CR. Now you can see that out of 100 paise, government is getting 35 paise in terms of what? Government is getting 35 paise in terms of borrowing and other liabilities. Right? Government is getting 35 paise in terms of borrowing and liability. So if there will be a question, you have to answer this question. Which of the following is largest source of revenue receipts for government? So what will be the answer? If they are going to ask this question, which of the following is the largest source of revenue receipts for the government, what will be the answer? One got in the trap. Not borrowings. I am asking about revenue receipts. which is the largest source of revenue receipts for the government. I'm not asking total receipts. If I'm asking total receipts, then borrowing is the answer. Is borrowing is a part of revenue receipts? Is borrowing is a part of revenue receipts? No. Borrowing is not part of revenue receipts. So don't be excited when you are going to find a kind of question which you think you already know. Hold your breath, read the question properly, and it is one of the common mistake by the students, right? They are in anxiety when they appear in the examination hall, and sometimes the language of the question is written like that it is an area which you have already studied, right? And they will deceive you with the words, and with you are not able to understand that deception because you are overexcited, from anxiety to overexcitement. That anxiety is going to convert in overexcitement because you have already studied. Arey wah, aa gaya. Right? So such kind of the feeling is being there, and you are going to commit a mistake. So whenever you know the things, you are going to work for a bank, right? You are going to work for a bank, not in a halwai shop. So वहां पर क्या है, मीन हलवाई शॉप इट इज अराउंड 300 ग्राम to 320 ग्राम थिंग्स आर गोइंग टू वर्क in bank it is not going to work. You have to be very precise, so read the question very carefully. Many students, they are not able to get select, and they feel that ki I have corrected so many number of the questions. But you are wrong, my dear. You are being deceived by such kind of the questions, right? So read the question very carefully. So when you are attempting or practicing, it is also very important, read the question carefully, right? So if they are going to ask which of the following, if question is going to be like that, which of the following is the largest source of receipts? If they are going to ask which is the largest source of receipts, then answer is going to be what? Borrowings and other liabilities, right? The borrowings you can mention. But if they are going to ask from where? Tax receipts, right? Tax receipts, this question can be framed in direct tax. This question can be framed in terms of indirect tax. So if they are going to ask in terms of number one question, if they are going to ask, see how the question can be framed. Which of the following is largest source of receipts? Largest source of receipt. Which of the following is largest source of receipt? I'm not going to give you the option. You just have to tell me which is the largest source of receipt for the government. If the question is okay. Question is which of the following is the largest source of receipt for the government? It's a borrowing or tax? If question is being asked to you, which of the following is largest source of receipt for the government? Answer is tax or borrowing? Answer. Which of the following is the largest source of tax or borrowing? Chalo, let's create more confusion. You have four options. Question is asking which of the following is the largest source of receipt? Of GOI. This is the data. This is the only data, and you have to answer. And it's nothing like you need a data here. You can answer this question. It's not very difficult because since last 20 years, It's there is no certain kind of the change, and it is a very valid question they can ask. Answer. You have to draw the inference. I'm not going to tell you कि it's a revenue receipts or capital receipts. You have to use your mind. Apply your mind here in draw the inferences from this statement and click the answer. Answer this question. 19 people are in live chat right now. Answer. And question is very simple. Question is very simple. Borrowing because capital or revenue receipts not specified. Borrowings. Anyone else who want to try before I'll start explaining? Anyone else want to try? Rest of the options are different type of the tax. Answer my question. We'll do the argument later. First, answer the question. Option A, B, or C? Vitika, answer my question. GST, corporate tax. Actually, in this question, you need to apply economics as well as logical reasoning. Logic you have to apply. This is not just a question of economics. Acha, now. Okay, 30 more seconds. Answer. Anyone want to answer? Okay. C. GST. What they are asking, which of the following is the largest source of receipts? Right? And you know that receipts are comprised of two types, revenue receipts and capital receipts. Right? Sorry, capital receipts. Revenue receipts and capital receipts. Have they given you about have they given you any clue here? They have not given you any clue here. Okay, they have not given any clue here. That means you have to take receipts as it is, 100 paise. You have to take as it is from where you are getting. They are asking about 100 paise. Which of the following is the largest source of receipt of the government of India? 100 paise. Now option is tax, option is borrowing, option is GST, option is corporate tax. Right? Now come to this data. I'm going to this data. However, the data is not required. If you have this, if you are looking last 2-3 years data, or you have discussed this thing, you have already discussed this thing, then you can see that from Nigam Kar means corporate tax, from income tax, from customs, from excise, from GST. So 15, 15, 30, 30 plus 16, 46, 46, 51, 58. 58 paise you are getting from where? You are getting from the tax. And from borrowings, how much you are getting? 35. You are getting borrowings. If they are saying that tax, that means all taxes will be the part of this option, na? Here they have just mentioned tax, right? If they have mentioned the tax, that means all the taxes are automatically part of this. When they write here borrowings, so that means all borrowings, that is somewhere around 35% or 35 paise. When they mention the GST, are you going to presume yourself it is also inclusive of what? Income tax? Tell me. Are you going to presume no, GST is also inclusive of what? Also inclusive of this one. So how GST can be the answer? Even the GST is less than borrowings. So GST cannot be the answer. GST cannot be the answer. Corporate tax, it is also not going to be the answer. Answer is what? Answer is tax. Yes, it was stuck for a short span of time. I'm mistaken. I have stopped that sharing. You got the understanding or not? Which of the following is the largest source of receipt for the government of India? Now I'll change this option. I'll change the question. Which of the following? I'll change the question. See, which of the following is single largest source of tax receipt for the government of India? Now the question is single largest source. Earlier they have asked you the largest source of receipt. Now they are asking the single largest source of receipt. Single largest source of receipt. So if they are asking single largest source, are you going to consider this because it is comprised of all kind of the taxes? So it is out of the context. Option A, you cannot take it because they are writing here tax. That tax means what? All taxes. So we cannot take this option. Now the borrowing, GST and corporate tax. From corporate tax, we are getting somewhere around 16%. From GST, we are getting somewhere around how much? 16. So from here also going to get around 16. Right, here also we are getting 16. From borrowings, we are getting 35. So what is the single largest source? What is the single largest source? Single largest source is borrowing. Now again one more twist in this question. Which of the following is single largest taxable source? Single largest taxable source. Single largest taxable source, both are somewhere around 16 and 16. But overall receivings of GST is higher than corporate tax. Then answer is going to be what? GST, if they are going to ask you which of the following is the single largest taxable source. Right. And now one more twist. Single largest direct tax receipts. Single largest direct tax. So single largest direct tax, GST is not a direct tax. Then answer is what? Corporate tax. So have you seen that how this question, the question was which of the following, okay, I'll use the red pen. Sometimes I forget to use the red pen and some students will complain Kisar is using black pen. So largest source. Then question was single largest source. Then question was single largest taxable source, single largest direct tax, single largest indirect tax. Right. So this is why the understanding is very important. Now you can say that, sir, these data are going to be changed. No, my dear, this is somewhere around almost same data for every year. Maybe maybe somewhere some points are going to be here and there, but this is going to be the single largest. It is going to be the single largest, right? It is going to be the single largest. You have to keep this thing in your mind, right? So roughly how I'm going to keep those things in my mind. In the indirect taxes, all taxes were subsumed and GST was formed. So definitely GST is a subsumed all of the taxes, indirect taxes, then GST is going to create a huge amount of income for the government, right? Whereas corporate tax and income tax, actually the corporate tax is also a kind of income tax, that income tax on corporations, and that is why it is known as corporation tax. And income tax on individuals income, that is part of what, that is part of income tax, right? So 15 and 15. Fine. Generally, these are little bit higher in the side, right? But because of the contraction in the economy and government has reduced the corporate tax in last few years, so that is why it is little bit low, right? Percentage wise, it is low. Percentage wise, it is low. It doesn't mean that the amount is also low. Okay. So first thing you have to keep in your mind, single largest source, borrowing. Number two, single largest taxable source, GST. Single largest direct tax source, that is what? Corporate tax. Fine. So these are some thing you have to keep in your mind. You can see that non-debt capital receipts. Non-debt capital receipts means what? Non-debt capital receipts like disinvestments, right? Disinvestments, what you are going to get from the disinvestments, that is going to be the non-debt capital receipts. Whereas when we talk about what? Non-tax revenue receipts, it is dividend, dividend paid by central public sector enterprises, right? Dividend paid by central public. See, most of the times you understood the PSU. There are two type of the PSUs. One is SPSUs and other is CPSUs. CPSUs means central public sector enterprises, whereas state also have their enterprises, but they are not so much profit making like the central public sector enterprises. That's why most of the time you are unaware of this categorization. But states also have their PSUs and they are categorized as SPSU, means state public sector undertakings or enterprises. So dividend paid by and fees and fine, fee and fine collected by the government of India, right? So all these comes under the category of what? Non-tax revenue, and it is somewhere around 5%. See, they have mentioned here one more important thing: the total receipts are inclusive of states' shares of tax and duties which have been netted in the table of page 1, right? So what it means, that table of page 1. So what actually they want to say, that whatever we have mentioned here, right? We have mentioned here whatever the tax I told you in the last class, whatever the tax government do collect, whatever the tax government do collect every year, government of India do collect a lot of taxes, and that tax is going to be shared with the states under the recommendation of finance commission. So what government here, this statement is saying that whatever we are mentioning here, we already deduct that amount which we are going to give to the states. This is why they have mentioned this line, right? Clear? Is this point is clear? Hmm. Now let's move towards रुपया कहाँ जाता है. Rupee goes to where it goes, right? Okay, here in this diagram, they have mentioned clearly, and you can see that where the rupee goes, around 20% of annual spending. 20% of annual spending goes to interest payments. And sometimes people get shocked. It is not shocking if you are getting borrowings as a single largest source. If your single largest source is borrowing, then automatically your single largest spending source is going to be what? Interest payments. It's quite simple. If you are getting the most amount of money, single largest source from borrowings, then obviously you are going to spend a lot of money in the interest payments, and this is going to be what? This is going to be your single largest source. So I told you, borrowing can be problematic in two ways. Problem if you are borrowing, right, and that borrowing is going to be problematic in two ways. One, if you are borrowing not for capital expenditure, you are borrowing for revenue expenditure. For necessary requirements, if you are borrowing, then it is problematic, right? You should borrow in such a way so that you can increase your income sources. You will do this thing only when you are low in taxable income. So this is not considered as a good thing if you are borrowing for revenue expenses, right? Then the problem, this borrowing is problematic. How this borrowing is going to be problematic in other way? You are going for monetization of deficit. If you are borrowing the money through monetization of the deficit or through crowding out, then it is problematic, right? So why we do have the figure of what? Why do we have the figure of primary deficit? The main reason of the primary deficit figure we follow is because we always try to reduce it. Reducing in that sense so that we can go for more and more spending on social things, but at the same time we have to reduce this amount and we have to go for other expenses, right? Now, other thing you can see that 20% where we are spending interest payments. After that, where we are spending states shares. State shares, I already told you about finance commission. Finance commission, article 280, and under that total tax receipts of the government of India must have to give to the states. So some part of that union can hold it, some part of that they have to provide to the states. So that's 17 paise. So out of 100 paise, first and biggest expenditure is interest payment, and second is what? Second is state shares in taxes and duties collected by the government of India, whether it is direct tax or it is indirect taxes, right? Whether it is direct tax or it is indirect tax. Got this point? Now one more entry is finance commission and other transfers, right? Finance commission and other transfers. So to let you know very clearly what I will do in next class, when I will start, I will give you few important details about the finance commission and what they do, right, and how these things are being materialized every year, so you will get more clarity on this issue. Fine. So you will get the more clarity on this issue, then we will proceed. So in the next class, first 15 to 20 minutes, I will explain the Finance Commission and its role and how it is impacting the budget in terms of devolution of taxes, grant in aid. So these things I will explain you. Then I will come to this point, and from here we will move forward to this part where we have to discuss all these things. Okay. So I'm stopping here. Next class, start with Finance Commission. It will take 15 to 20 minutes. Then I'll get back to here and we will start discussion. Okay. Sorry, can you please share this PDF of first class which you have given complete step-by-step coverage of the syllabus? Yeah, sure. I'll check. Actually, what happened yesterday? There was a issue in my system. I don't know what happened, but unfortunately, I have to format the system. Okay, so I have given the hard drive for a recovery of the data. So once it will be recovered, I'll share with you. Probably tomorrow morning I'll get the data. He told me that he will recover the data. I'll provide. I'll provide that video. Okay, everybody. Good night. See you tomorrow, same time at 9 p.m. Okay.